Good morning, everyone. I couldn't be more excited about today's episode of Three Things on Monday podcast with Stephanie Strong because, and I'm excited and I hope you're excited too, I have been recording my podcast through audio only, but today I am launching the video version of Three Things on Monday podcast. And so now to all my amazing listeners and prospective listeners, you get to listen through audio and you get to watch it by video. And I want to say welcome to you all. And so let's dive in. On today's episode of Three Things on Monday podcast, I like to lift up three words: listen, learning, and leadership. As though you can have leadership without listening and learning. And if I were to give listening a look, it would certainly be a posture of being present, being available, being open, and being adaptable, fluid, flexible, not being attached to a particular outcome or a process or just locked in to one way. I like this idea of listening because much too often, human beings, we take listening for granted. And we listen for many different reasons. No shade on anyone. But today we're going to talk about 4 types of listening by ListenLearnLead.com. I like these 4 types. Now, there's just not a comprehensive definition of listening, and there are many takes and perspective on what listening is. So today we're just going to focus on these particular 4 types. And those 4 types are appreciative listening, empathetic listening, comprehensive, and critical listening. So appreciative listening is listening for enjoyment, like music, a sermon, a podcast, motivational speech, comedy, anything that you enjoy and it brings you joy. Appreciative listening is great for that. Empathetic listening is listening to find common ground, like to understand the situation or circumstance the speaker is sharing, to identify with the speaker, to put yourself in someone else's shoes. It's akin to mindful or active listening. It also means being fully present. Comprehensive listening is listening to gather information and facts, instructions, directions, or other pertinent details. It's also active listening to understand another person's perspective. Then you have critical listening. And critical listening is listening for evaluation, to make a determination. For example, research, or are you going to make a major purchase? Or perhaps you have to have a procedure, or maybe you're trying to start a business and you need to do a market analysis, or you are working on something where you have to do a comparison. It involves examining the pros and cons. And so from where I stand, or just based on my understanding of listening is a core competency, hands down. It's a core competency of leadership, and it's connected to one's values, seriously. And if you want to self-evaluate your listening skills and do an introspection, which I encourage, I think it's always good to look at the man or woman in the mirror, and really just assess, like, how am I listening? So start with taking a good look at your core values. What are your core values? Respect, honor, consideration, integrity, human dignity, kindness, common courtesy. Whatever values ground you will show up in the way you are listening. Do you listen to understand? Or do you listen to respond? Do you talk over people? Do you interrupt while someone is speaking? Are you distracted while someone is speaking, like on your phone or device, looking away while they're speaking, being fidgety, or, maybe looking past them? All of which is extremely annoying. But if you want to elevate your listening skills as a person or as a leader. It doesn't matter what leadership role you are in. You may be a parent, a teacher, you may be a caregiver, you may be a CEO, or perhaps you're a solopreneur or entrepreneur, or maybe you are managing people. It doesn't matter. We're talking about how do we show up fully and being present when people are speaking. So I like to offer, if you will, some best practices for exceptional leadership listening. One of the things I think is so important, if at all possible, prepare for the conversation. Release all judgments, release all expectations and opinions. And sometimes we show up with our own biases or preconceived ideas and notions. Let all of that go. Let all that go, suspend, let go, so that you can fully be there to hear and to see the person who's speaking. The other, number two, center yourself. Even if a person wants to speak with you at the spur of the moment, you still have a few seconds to center yourself. I like the idea of centering. I practice centering before conversations. I may take a few deep breaths. I may even say a prayer. God help me. As a matter of fact, I have a text of scripture on my wall, literally, and it reads, I'm going to look up and read it. It says, set a guard over my mouth, Lord. Keep watch over the door of my lips. That's in Psalm 141:3. I want to listen more than I speak. So, you know, sometimes you may be able to just roll your shoulders or just ground yourself in a mindful way. And you figure out what you need to do to center yourself. And one of the reasons why I think centering is really important, so that you can be relaxed. You have good energy, you bring good energy into the conversation, and you have good oxygen flow. All right, number three, remove all distractions. Personally, I find it quite annoying when people are on their phones when you're speaking. That is just not good practice, people, literally. And sometimes you might have to take a call, or you may have to reply, excuse yourself. But to me, just remove all distractions. Number four, make good eye contact. Keep your eyes focused on the speaker. Now, the speaker can look around and shift eyes. But have you ever been in the middle of a conversation and the person listening loses track of the conversation? Let not that be you, okay? Practice, number five, practice reflective listening by repeating what the speaker says. It may sound like this: what I heard you say, or you may say, just to be sure that I am tracking you. I say that often. Let me make sure that I'm tracking you, and or I'm hearing you correctly. And you repeat what the person said. However, don't repeat the speaker incessantly, because you're not active listening. You're just trying to remember what they said because you are not fully present. Be fully present, but for clarification or to be sure, it's okay to practice reflective listening. Number six, do not overtalk or disrupt the speaker. Just don't do it. Sometimes we get so excited about what we have to say next. Guess what happens? We want to rush into or rush over the person speaking. Just not a good practice. I'm just saying, you guys. And number seven, acknowledge you are actively listening with subtle gestures, such as nodding your head or making a short reply, such as, I understand. Wow, I get that, you know, and just be there, like be there now. You know what I mean? And number eight, be open-minded and don't listen to solve the problem unless they ask, but rather listen for comprehension and understanding. People don't always need your solution. They may just need your ear. They may just need your presence. So be open-minded. I also like to ask, what does the person need from me in the conversation? I like asking that because I know I am a solution person. I am solution driven. A lot of times, if you tell me a problem, my mind goes to the solution. Like, what is the possible solution? So I am finding myself asking more often, more regularly, how may I serve you? Or what do you need me to be in this conversation? Number 10, ask clarifying questions. So important to get clarification. And so the other thing that I want to just sort of recall as a community organizer, one of the skills I have found to be most useful is reflection. Reflection is a really core piece of organizing, because reflection is not about the other person, it's about you. Reflection allows me to curate key learnings and a great listener learns. So I'm listening to learn too also, and asking myself, like, what did you learn? What are your takeaways? What key learnings? What do you know differently at the end of the conversation that you didn't know at the beginning of the conversation? What will I do differently with this new knowledge? And so to really lean into what it means to be a great listener, again, the four types of listening, again, is appreciative listening, empathetic listening, comprehensive listening, and critical listening. Be courageous enough to ask yourself, am I being an active listener? Am I being fully present? Am I comprehending and understanding? Am I suspending judgments and expectations? Am I really being here now? Well, I hope today's episode of Three Things on Monday, Listen, Learn, and Leadership, have been meaningful to you. And if they are, or if they have, would you please subscribe, follow, and share this episode out? And if you have been a regular listener, please give some reviews, because that is so helpful. I am so grateful to be able to share this time with you. And I look forward to you joining me on our next episode of Three Things on Monday podcast with Stephanie Strong. I am your servant. I'm here to serve, and I am really here to make the world a better place. One person, one leader, one organization at a time. Listen, have a fantastic day. And until next time, be blessed.